Hello, welcome to the second of our My Journey class chats for this spring. My name is Darren Webb. I am a software engineer at code.org. I'm joining you from my home in Des Moines, Iowa. And I want to say thank you to all the classrooms joining us today. Teachers, I'm happy to share that this session, as well as all of our future sessions, are going to be live closed caption. So I want to give a huge shout out to Patty, who's providing our captions for today's chat. I am excited to welcome one of my own colleagues here from code.org, Tess O'Brien. Tess is a product manager, and she helps to create some of the cool tools that many of you use on code.org. We'll talk to her about how she creates those tools, her journey to code.org, and any advice that she might have for those of you out there who enjoy using code.org and are already starting to think about what you might want to do when you're older. Teachers, please put any questions you've got in the chat, and we will do our best to get to some of those by the end of the talk. First question, though, I've got for Tess. Tess, if you could tell us just a quick little bit of intro about yourself and your position, and then answer this incredibly important question, as I found out that today is National Pizza Day, which is really exciting for me. There are so many kinds of pizza out there. You've got thin crust, you've got New York style, you've got deep dish Chicago style, you've got the school cafeteria sheet pan pizzas. So my question for you is, what is your favorite type of pizza?
Ooh, okay. One, thank you for letting me know that it is National Pizza Day. It has very much changed what I will be eating for dinner tonight. I'm Tess. I'm a product manager working on teacher tools at code.org. So the tools that help our teachers learn how to teach computer science. And getting to the important stuff, I spent a few years living in Brooklyn. So I think a Brooklyn style pizza is my absolute favorite. I've traveled far and wide in Seattle trying to find the best Brooklyn style pizza. It's like between thin and thick crust, has some very salty cheeses on it. It can stand up to like a sweeter topping. Controversial pineapple plug here. So big fan of a Brooklyn style pizza. What is your answer?
Oh, I was just gonna say thank you for sharing that. I'm worried that this is a very controversial topic, and then you threw pineapple in there, so I don't want to start any fights out there. I love all pizzas. All pizzas are delicious, but there's something about a nice hand toss, lots of cheese. Here in Des Moines, the best pizza comes from a gas station. That's a whole separate topic. So we'll go into that later. I want to talk about what you do at code.org. So what exactly is a product manager? Could you tell us a little bit about what that means?
Yeah, definitely. I have some slides to share because it is a bit of a new field.
Oh, awesome.
Cool. Can you see him?
Yes.
Great. So a product manager across the field can mean a whole lot of different things, company to company, person to person, team to team. But here at code.org, a product manager's job is to understand our users. So lots of folks in this room right now, help decide what we should build, help implement the build itself. So tracking and making sure things are on time, making smart trade-offs, and then tracking the success, whatever it is we build, and figuring out how to refine it and make it a little bit better. To dive in, I feel like that just sounds like a lot of words to say what a product manager does.
So you're telling me that we just don't build whatever we think is like the coolest, most fun thing.
Sometimes we do, but mostly not. So I wanted to walk through an example of a problem that a product manager might face at code.org, if that works for you.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So say we at code.org are thinking about building dark mode. Dark mode is when the back of your computer screen is a dark color and then all of the things on top of it are brighter. So as opposed to like writing in a Word document where it's a white background traditionally and then black text over it, you would see a black background and more colorful text over it. So say we have heard from teachers and students that they like dark mode, they're interested in it. A product manager would be tasked with figuring out, is this something that really makes sense for code.org to build? And the way they do that is through talking to users and talking and thinking about the market itself. So first they would go out and try to understand, do our users want this? Do the students using our labs want dark mode? That could look like coming into some of the classrooms that are here today and having a chat with students about, do you use dark mode on other features or on other products that you use? Or it could look like things like questions along the lines of, what time of day do you do your coding homework? Is it at nighttime when your eyes are tired? Or is it in the classroom? And so when we've had these conversations before, some of the things we hear are things like, I work on my coding projects after I finish my other homework. I like to be creative and keep working on it into the evening. Sometimes my eyes get tired before bed. Or something like, when I use dark mode, I feel like I'm really coding. I feel like I'm a professional coder. It's like what it looks like on TV when someone's hacking something. It's always this black background. So we get a sense from our users. It's something they're interested in. It's something that sort of would help them take a feeling away from using our product that is different than what they have right now. Then we would dig in a little bit to market research. And so that is looking around the industry, looking around at how people use computers, not necessarily our product, but look around and see, do people use dark mode elsewhere? And so just from a quick Google search in this example, I found that 91.8% of Android users use dark mode at some point on their phone. So that sounds like a pretty good piece of signal that people are interested in dark mode right now. Another way of saying all of that when I became a product manager really resonated with me is this graphic here. So you have your customer, you have our service, which is the code.org labs, and then you have what the customer can do with your service. And so what superpower would dark mode unlock for our users? And will dark mode really help them feel and be able to build things in a different way? And so I think from talking to our users in this example, we have learned that there is this deeper meaning to why someone might want dark mode. So at this point, if we have confirmed we do want to be building dark mode, a product manager would go start working with the experts in the field. So they would work with design to design exactly what our dark mode looks like for code.org. And they would go and work with their engineering team to learn about how long it's going to take, what are some of the technical complications we expect, and plan out the project itself. They would sit with the team throughout the project and help make smart trade-offs when things come up or problems arise. And then finally, they would track the dark mode. So they would be able to see how many folks are using it, how they're using it, and engage with how well this feature did once it's out there in the world.
Awesome. So you've had a long career in computer science. I'm curious, what computer science skills or what skills have you had that you've developed throughout your career that got you to this place where you could be a successful product manager?
Yeah, definitely. So I guess if I'm going to talk about how I got to computer science, share my screen again. For me, that really starts with my grandmother, my abuela. In Cuba, she studied math and was an early mathematician. She came over to the United States and was one of the early women working for IBM. So she herself worked in the computer science field. For me, that did not translate to enjoying computer science right off of the bat. When I was in middle and high school, math really intimidated me. And I thought, because I wasn't necessarily great at it from the jump, that maybe it wasn't for me. Maybe I wasn't interested in it. So I leaned on things I was interested in. I went to college, studied political science, came out of college and started working with nonprofits with that degree. Around that time, in that industry, there was a lot of unpaid internships, a lot of part-time jobs. So I worked part-time in nonprofits and part-time in the service industry. I got to work on a grilled cheese food truck for many years, which was a great gig. Learned a lot during that time around communication, being scrappy and savvy with what resources you have and how to make those work for you, both professionally and personally. And then at some point while working with nonprofits, I had the chance to help build an app for our users. And I was so intimidated by that project. I thought that by not having done a lot of science or math when I was in school, I had sort of avoided these types of projects. But I was tasked with doing the project work to make sure that this was delivered on time. And so I dove right in. And something that I was so struck by was the amount of impact the engineers I was working with were able to make for the folks we were working with at this nonprofit, and how the app was able to make tangible changes in folks' lives and really amplify our mission. During this time, I also started giving some thought to why did I think I wasn't good at computer science? Or why did I think computer science wasn't for me? Why did I, frankly, just leave math classes and computer classes as soon as I had the chance to? And I learned about a program called General Assembly, which is essentially 3 months of 12 hours a day just coding. And so I didn't like that there was something I felt like I couldn't do. And so I quit my job, took out a loan, went to learn software engineering when I was about 24. I won't say that it immediately came quickly to me by any means. But because I had taken a gamble on myself at that point, I promised myself to be the most interested person in the class and to try everything I could, ask every question I could, and focus on having a growth mindset of believing that I could learn these new skills that at one point in my life I thought weren't for me. I left that program, started work as an engineer, and then learned about product management as a field, which sort of combined some of these problem solving communication skills that I, in my early career, I had done a lot of work with this cool, meaty software engineering and design work that I had gotten the chance to learn about in my early 20s. So I worked for a product manager for a few years with a bunch of nonprofits, and then came in-house to code.org, and have been here for 2 years.
That's an awesome story. The way that you kind of started, you were exposed to some computer science, you were exposed to that mathematics early on, but didn't really click. And computer science is so big and there's so many things involved that sometimes coming at it from a different angle and being willing to do those challenging things. If we all just do what's easy, we're never going to get anything good done. You gotta dive into those things that are definitely those challenges that you face. And so that's an awesome story. If anybody out there has any questions for Tess or about code.org or about her story, feel free to throw those into chat. I want to ask a little bit about what you do outside of work. So when you're not working with code.org, what kind of stuff do you find yourself doing out there?
Yeah, so I live in the Pacific Northwest. I grew up on the East Coast and moved out here about 7 years ago because I wanted to hike and get to explore the outdoors. I am going to use this as a moment to show y'all a picture of my dog.
Please do.
Think. All right. So this is my dog, Lo. She and I spend a lot of time exploring the Pacific Northwest. So getting to hike, adventure. We work at code.org right now pretty much fully remotely. And so we've had a chance to get to see lots of beaches, lots of mountains this year. Really get to explore.
It's always good to have a nice adventuring buddy on a hike.
Do you have one?
I do. We've got a border collie. His name is Zion, and we're working on him to carry his own little pack, so he can carry his own like water and food, and we can carry ours, and he can carry his. So.
We bought Lo a pack. but she isn't really big enough to convincingly carry much of her own stuff. But I think she likes the sassy walk of I have a backpack on.
They like having a job to do and a task to, and then running off into the water. That's great. Are there any, you were talking about dark mode. Are there any exciting projects at code.org that you've had a chance to work on as a product manager?
Yes. So this might be a horror story more than just a strictly exciting project. But when I got started with code.org about a month and a half into working with the company, I was asked to do the project management part of our hour of code that year. And we weren't releasing a new tutorial, so there wasn't Dance Party coming out or PoemBot coming out that year. So I was like, I got this. This will be simple enough. It was not. It was a really cool project where the whole organization works towards this one goal. And we get a ton of traffic to the site, a ton of kids using the product, a bunch of teachers using it, and especially during a pandemic, there was just a huge amount of traffic to the site. What I really learned in that time was sometimes one of the best things you can do as a product manager is to remove obstacles to allow your coworkers who are experts in the field to really shine and do their thing. So I got to work with marketing, design, engineering, and video to make sure that everything on our site was up and running, and was just sort of shoving things out of the way to help my colleagues be able to really shine.
That's something that I've enjoyed about working with product managers as an engineer is not everybody, there's no one person who knows how everything works. And sometimes you run into an issue where there's a problem in some area, you might not have that expertise. And it's usually a product manager who has the answer to that. How can I put all the right people in a room and then take a step back and see that problem get solved? Yeah, when there are problems and problems need to get solved, sometimes it's just getting the right people in the right place, and being able to see that big picture really helps everybody else be productive. So that's an awesome position that you've got there. If you were to go back in time to middle school Tess or high school Tess and give her a piece of advice, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give?
That's a great question. I think it comes down to believing that I could learn things and believing that it's worth learning things, especially the harder things. And so to approach, in this example, math, but sort of everything as a chance to learn, a chance to ask questions, not necessarily feeling like I need to be the best in the room. And if I'm not the best in a room, find the room where I am the best. But more so, learn a medium about a lot of things. And take that approach of just being a learner, being interested into every situation you're in.
So there's folks out there who are interested in maybe pursuing a career as a product manager or in computer science. How would they go about that? What would be some good things to take a look at or next steps?
Yeah, sort of in that same vein of learning a bit about a lot of things. Stay in computer science classes. I had to go back when I was 24 to start learning some of those foundational skills. But a really great way to get into this field is to understand the fundamentals of computer science. If you have that, you will be ahead of a lot of folks. Then also understand the fundamentals of a lot of other things. So focus on clear communication, general design principles, and pay attention to the products that you're using. I think that's Something I love about being a product manager is interviewing for the work is fun. You get to sort of think about things like dark mode and go into these deep examples sort of hypothetically. And so when you are out there on your phone or out there on your device, think about the products that you interact with day to day. Like think about a cool lamp you like and why you like it, what it makes you like, what about it makes you feel good, what about it makes it fun, and just sort of start to investigate why you love different products that you love.
That's great. Yeah, I'm over on the more software engineering side, but I think we both have kind of a web development background and that app development, web development, and I think the exploring a broad variety of topics, focusing on building those computer science skills is valuable if somebody wants to be a software engineer, but always looking at the big picture and the whole world, because the code that we write, it's for humans and it's for solving problems. And so if you can really look out there at what do you love about life, what is frustrating about life, and how can how can some technology help maybe solve that problem. Are there any specific skills that you would recommend people try to look at as developing a computer science career? Maybe from broader than a product manager.
I feel like a great place to get started for someone like me, who wasn't necessarily like just interested in learning the languages to learn the languages, was the creativity aspect of it. So as you were saying there, Darren, around like the idea that you can go from a blank page to having something on that blank page, to making that thing move across the blank page, or to solve a problem, or to create a quiz that helps your friend, that you can have fun with your friends with or your parents with. Really dive into the creative side of engineering. I found JavaScript to be really helpful for that, and sort of all of the things that you can do with JavaScript. Beyond that, I think the thing computer science taught me the most in my life is that every problem has a solution. And I don't know why. It may be that I was in my early 20s when I started coding that this really clicked for me. Maybe that's just something you learn at that age. But for me, the ability to have a problem on a sheet and to feel like it was unsolvable, but know that there was a solution, has really helped me in my life of approaching every situation as if there is a solution to it. I just have to find it and rely on the folks around me to help me find it. So I think that isn't a super technical answer, that is maybe a product answer to a technical question, but I think was
I think learning how to code, and realizing that, those problems have solutions, and you don't have to wait for those solutions. You can go out and try to build those solutions yourself. If there's a small tool that will help your club organize its event and you can write some code to make that happen, then you just created some value and solved a problem out there. Early on in our conversation, you mentioned that you had some mathematics and computer science folks in your family and had some encouragement from them that might not have stuck at the time. But I'm curious, is there anyone else who helped you along the way and guided you into your career?
Definitely. Teachers were a huge help. I feel like teachers helped me learn to ask the right questions going into college and coming out of college, focus on the right things, spend my time wisely. And then once I've been in the field, I've had some really great, specifically women mentors who have helped me feel like to continue. It wasn't really like a light switch of I belong in the computer science field now. There is certainly times that I feel like a bit of an imposter because I came from maybe a different background than some of my coworkers. And at Code.org specifically, I've had great mentors. My current manager, Amanda, and my previous manager, Marina, both really helped me to see that my voice was important because it was a different voice and because it was a different perspective. and that the skills that I brought to the field were important because they weren't necessarily the skills of somebody who day one knew they wanted to be a computer scientist.
I think it's great how the college opportunities for studying computer science have broadened a lot in the recent years. And having the diverse voices in there to influence organizations and influence projects is great. My dirty little secret is that I am actually a cinema major with a theater minor. I do have a computer science minor because I pushed myself to finish up that section of it. But most of my work in college was kind of using technology in these other areas. So I think there's a lot of different ways to get there and a lot of ways to find what you love. And to have that broad, diverse set of voices in the room is absolutely valuable. If anybody else has any final questions, we've got just a couple more minutes here. Thank you, Terrence Stone, for that question that I tried to kind of weave in there. You asked about specific skills that high school students should develop if they want to be a computer science student of computer science. Before we close out here, I want to make sure I didn't miss any other questions. I'm just hungry for pizza now, honestly. That's the big thing I'm thinking about. Eric sent me a message and he's curious about what kinds of companies do product managers work for? We've heard of like project managers, and product managers is a little bit different. What do you think about that? What types of companies, where do you find a product manager in?
It's really cool because I think we're in this moment where project, product, program, all of those words maybe are not agreed upon across the industry. So I think, and as I said before, product management is a relatively new field, like 15, 20 years of it being like a real named job, and it is growing quickly. So I think it traditionally, my understanding came from bigger tech companies. So Google, Microsoft, all of those big tech companies will have product managers. They're also a pretty early hire at startups that have a technology focus. But something that I really loved in coming from nonprofits is Code.org's commitment to being a nonprofit and a technology company. And so the idea that you can be within a nonprofit and working with product management is something really new and cool. And I think the field is going to see a lot more of that.
Yeah, I think a shift from a project, which usually has a start and an end, to a product, which is this is the thing we've got. This is whether it be the Code.org online applications and website, or it's an app that somebody has. Thinking about that in the broad sense is a shift that seems to be happening in the industry, and people who can think that way are super valuable. What's the hardest part about being a product manager?
It's ambiguous. You don't always know your role in any room. It is not totally clear, but you get to be a helper. Like, as you said, you get to remove roadblocks, bring the right people in a room. And then sort of the best part about being a product manager is getting to watch those around you shine and to help that happen from start until forever of a product. Awesome.
Well, thank you so much for chatting with me today. I think it's a super important role in an organization and with in computer science and in software. So thank you for chatting with us today. Thank you for joining us out there, teachers and students. Reminder to tune in for our future class chats, and then to also check the recordings of past class chats. We had a bunch of them this fall. We had one a little while ago this spring, and this one will be recorded and posted online as well, if you want to watch it again. And then teachers, please check your email for a survey that's going to be going out. We really appreciate your feedback as we continue to have these class chats in the future and keep making them even better. But that's all we've got for today. Thank you for joining us, Tess.
Thank you so much. This was a blast.
Thanks. Bye.